So what about driving after a rotator cuff surgery? When can you drive again? Those were some of my main questions that I had. Now, the paperwork that I got sent home with said basically, you're not going to be able to drive anytime soon, which I understand, but I also know that's not a reality. Most of us don't have the ability to not drive for 6 to 8 weeks, sit at home, recover, watch TV. Yeah, not going to happen. Especially when you're single, I just don't have someone who could be my arms and ears. And I just had surgery on Monday. Am I driving? Yes. Am I driving a lot? No. So the one thing for me was I still can't wear my contacts. So I am stuck with my glasses, which are good and bad. They are a few years old, so the prescription's a little dated. They're not bifocals, which make it easier for me. So I have to wear my glasses, and as long as I can see, um, that was first. Two, I had to be completely off my painkillers. So if I was on my nerve block, oxy, any of those major painkillers, I wasn't going to get behind the wheel. There was no way I was going to drive, even if it's just to the sidewalk, backing my car out of the garage. I wasn't going to do that on anything. So I had to be able to get off of painkillers where I wasn't on more than what I was before the surgery. So I'm not going to say I wasn't on painkillers before the surgery because I tore my muscle on my rotator cuff about a year ago. So my arm was numb. I've been driving on and off 1 to 2 hands for the last year and a half since I tore my rotator cuff. It was a very long process to get it diagnosed and fixed. So there were times where my arm was just completely numb and it was just painful just to lift it high enough to grab the steering wheel. So I've been driving for the most part with one hand for about a year. But there are exceptions to that. I live in California, the part of California where it's at 70 degrees or above year round, probably 10, 11 months out of the year. So when I am up in the morning, it's sunny and warm. If it's foggy, I assure you I won't be driving. If the ground is wet, I will not be driving. If I can't see, if my vision is going to be impaired at all, I will not be driving. But if it's like right now, it's 65 degrees, I guess. There's no clouds, no fog. It is just a beautiful day in California. Or morning, because it's still morning. So I drove to the corner. McDonald's is about a quarter mile away. It's an L shape. There's not heavy road, not heavy traffic. It's not a residential area where I'm having to worry about kids jumping out or people backing into me. It's just straight there and back. So that I am doing, I will admit. I may be finally taking my son to school tomorrow morning. Again, it'll be a straight shot because it's like a Z almost. It's about a mile, but it's just straight through. Again, it depends on the weather. If the roads are wet, I can assure you I won't be driving because I will not have good control over my steering wheel. If it's foggy, again, that's going to impair my vision and I'm not going to have the same reaction time because one arm is in the sling. I can grab the bottom of my steering wheel with my left hand since they said I can move my fingers and my wrist. So I can move those kind of things. Anything from the elbow below, I can move. So I've even considered maybe putting an ace bandage around my arm just so I know I don't move it, but I still have the free range of, my arm and my elbow and my hand. Because again, you can hold the steering wheel, you just can't move your shoulder. So I can still do some things. I can tell you backing out of parking spots is not an easy task, so I will never be doing that anytime soon. I will be parallel parking with no one around me or driving forward as far as I can so I can pull forward. Because backing up backwards requires 2 hands to turn the steering wheel. Or you need to be in a lot where there's not a lot of people, so they're okay with you driving really slow. So those are just different things you need to think about. The other thing is I had rotator cuff on my left shoulder. So as a driver, guess where the seatbelt goes? Yep. Right over and on top of my stitches. So anytime I move, I'm rubbing against my stitches, which is not a good feel. I did put a cloth over it the first day, but I learned that the hard way. For the most part, I'm trying, if possible, I will carpool with like my mom or have someone pick me up. The other thing is if you have it on your right arm and you're a passenger, you're going to have that same problem where you're going to have the seatbelt rubbing against your stitches. So make sure you have a cloth or something because you're going to feel that pulling and it doesn't feel good at all. And again, I'm still wearing sleeveless clothing, or dresses, because luckily this is California, so I can get away with dresses for the most part year round. And sleeveless, or with has like a little jacket over it. I'm just only wearing it one arm in and then one arm over my sling, so that one's not through the hole. Just that way I can at least kind of hide my stitches, and then I also have some kind of protecting. But again, some of the strings from my stitches still come through the cloth, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to know where you're driving. Is it high traffic? Is it high stop and go? Because my reaction time is fine. That's not impaired, especially since I'm pretty much off my medicine completely. I do take ibuprofen. I actually think I'm taking smaller doses than I was before the surgery, since I was having a lot of pain pre-surgery. I'm just going through the process of getting diagnosed and stuff. It took, going through 3 sets of physical therapy even prior to the surgery. So it was a long process. My arm was going numb a lot. So I was on medicine, or some form of ibuprofen or Tylenol, for the last year and a half, just to be able to function normal. So I don't want to say you have to be completely off the medicines, because that's not the case. That's not reality. I was on it before the surgery. So to sit there and say, oh, you got to be off of it, well, I wasn't off of it before the surgery. So I got to be honest. For the most part, I have good control. I'm not going on busy roads. I'm not going where there's children or high risks. The weather's gorgeous in California right now, even for being November. We're still in the 70s. I won't drive in the fog, like I said, but we really haven't had fog. We have some morning mist, so I'm not going out that early. If I do have to leave, it's like my cats still need food. There's, for the most part, those are the things that I keep in mind if you are considering driving. You still want to make sure you're safe, because if you're going to hit something, it's all your fault. Whether it was your fault or not, they're still going to put it on you, because you're down to one arm. So keep that kind of stuff in mind as you go through this. Make the decisions that's best for you. You know you better than anyone else knows you. I don't know you. I don't know how you react to things. I don't know the size of your vehicle. I don't know if it stops quick or if it, doesn't stop quick. Like I have a Suburban, doesn't stop very quick. I probably will not be driving that for a while, or until I'm a little more comfortable, just because it doesn't stop as quickly, and it takes a lot more time and energy to turn the steering wheel or to back up, just because it's so heavy. So just keep those kind of things in mind if you are considering driving. For the most part, I don't do a whole lot. I don't go through drive-thrus. For the most part, I do curbside pickup at McDonald's. Very easy. Because you don't have hands. That's the other thing I learned, is they come to your driver's side window and hand you the stuff, and I don't have a left hand. So as they stuff through, I'm like, what am I going to do with this bag? So I got to reach over, pull it over, put it down on the seat, reach over, grab, the soda, put it down. So keep that in mind if that is something you're going to do. If you're going to go through the drive-thru, same problem. How are you going to pay? You're going to have to reach over, depending on what hand it is. For me, it's, I can't adjust my seats. That was the other thing. Someone drove my vehicle yesterday, didn't adjust my seats. So when I got in today, I couldn't adjust my seats because all the controls are on my left side. And where's my surgery? Left side. So if you're not able to adjust your seats, I wouldn't have been able to drive. I had to get out, kind of adjust the seat. It was very difficult, and I was very ticked off. Polite way of putting what I want to say to whoever borrowed my car. As soon as I see them, like, dude, you knew I had a surgery. Like, why are you messing with my car and not putting it back? And, I get you put gas in it. I appreciate that. But, yeah, I wasn't happy. So keep that in mind, because you don't have those kind of controls. You can't adjust your, I luckily have a newer car. Actually, it's not super new. It's like 6-7 years old. But I still have controls on my steering wheel, so I can adjust the temperature. I don't usually listen to the radio because I need since I only have one hand, I'm relying a lot on my sound or my ears to hear for cars coming, blinkers, that kind of thing. Because, it's still very painful to look over. But I'm still looking, my blind spots. You still got to look. You still got to be a regular driver. And I'm not the only one that I know that's out there driving with one hand, because I saw someone with a cast on their arm just driving with their hand up or their head resting on their cast, and I thought it was hilarious. It's like, I know that feeling. So I know I'm not the only one out there, but just remember there's impaired drivers around. So although mine is a sling, I'm not on any kind of painkillers. I'm not on oxy. I'm not on any kind of drugs or alcohol. I'm drinking my water so I don't get dehydrated. Um, don't have anything extra in my car that's going to be a distraction because, again, my arm is my distraction. I don't need another distraction. So I can hold the ball at the bottom of the steering wheel, which is kind of helpful. If you have it, luckily with my height, it's right at the bottom of the steering wheel, so it does help me a little bit. But I can't rely on it. So you won't be eating and driving, no drinking and sipping on a soda, no eating your ice cream cone while you're driving. None of that's going to happen. Definitely not texting and driving. You can barely text and lay down now because you don't have any fingers to text. So doing a lot of voice to text. So just keep that in mind. The doctor's probably not going to be honest about, what they think is best. Or, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you, which is don't drive for 6 to 8 weeks. But the reality is that's not our reality. At least for me, that's going to be impossible because I don't have anyone else who's going to go anywhere. Granted, I can have my daughter bring me food. Certain things you're probably not going to want your daughter to go get or somebody else to go get you. And it's just the ability to get to your doctor appointments, your physical therapy, those kind of things that are going to come up. It's just reality. Not one to sit home. If I need to run to the store to go get spray because I can't scrub the shower anymore, so I'm relying a lot on my bathroom cleaners. So I'm still spraying them down every day because, again, I can't scrub them very well because I'm left-handed and I had left-hand surgery. So think about those kind of things so that way if you are going to operate a vehicle, remember you got to be off your painkillers. You got to be able to control it. You need to be on roads that are easy to drive on. Bumps are going to hurt. I had someone driving me yesterday to the bank because I don't like doing long drives, like I said. So I had someone drive me to the bank, and every single pothole I felt. Every pothole. The road sucked, and it was a major street. So it was really annoying to me because I felt it. And that was just a passenger. I wasn't the driver. If I was driving, it would have been a whole different situation because I would have wanted to grab my shoulder. And you can't do that when you're driving. So you just make sure that the roads are going to be okay, and it's going to be okay for you. Make sure you're not going to feel drowsy. You have good control over your vehicle. You don't have distractions that are going to distract you. And for the most part, I'm not driving very far. Not going more than probably a mile at the most, unless an absolute emergency, like I had to go to Kaiser to go pick up a prescription. I didn't go during rush hour. I assure you, it's like not going to happen because I can't do stop and go traffic. It's just not going to work for me. And I didn't want to have to deal with it. Granted, I have my, glasses, but I'm still operating a vehicle. I'm still going to be out of my comfort zone for, an hour driving to Kaiser and back, which means I definitely can't be on any painkillers. I can't, eat or drink anything for the most part, even water bottles, because you don't have any hands to grab the water bottle to unscrew the cap off. You can't drive and unscrew the cap off a water bottle. So there's little things you got to think about if it is a decision you make. Again, I had my surgery on Monday. As soon as I came off my painkillers, I'll be honest, I drove to McDonald's to get french fries. I could only eat 3 before my stomach was upset. But I enjoyed those 3 french fries, I can tell you. But, McDonald's round trip is maybe a half a mile. So that was, for the most part, that was my first trip for the first 3 days was to McDonald's, which was a half mile away. Round trip. Not even, it's walking distance. But I'm scared I'm going to trip and fall. Just my sense, it's just like, that would be my luck. I would hit a curb and just fall and just ruin things. So I have other fear factors going on, which is why I'm driving. But again, keep the conditions in mind. I'm in California, so I don't have wet streets. I don't have fog. I don't have mist. I don't have anything on my windows when I wake up in the morning. My conditions are ideal here in California where I'm at. It's sunny, as you can see in the background. Yes, that's the real sky back there, real blue. And it's November, so usually we like clouds and rain. But I'm enjoying the sun weather because I can at least drive. I have some control. Can't turn on the heaters other than what buttons I have on my steering wheel. On my right side, obviously, because I don't have any control of the left side because of my surgery. But keep that in mind. All those make a difference. My friend said she was back at work after a week. Just because they were able to accommodate her and she had a good control over her pain and she was able to drive. So she was able to go back to work at a week. I'm not going to try to go back to work in a week. I'm going to wait the month that the doctor told me to wait, at least get my first physical therapy done, get my stitches removed before I even consider going back. And I have a desk job. I help students. So I work at a college. So I don't have a very strenuous job, spending a lot of time on phones or talking to students and helping them with, their financial aid or registering for classes or whatever. So it's not a difficult job. I'm not doing any lifting other than my phone and my laptop. But it didn't sound like the doctor wanted me to lift anything, so I've asked my work to provide me a headset and possibly a workstation where I'm not having to move locations, so I'm not having to move the laptop. Because even that, the doctor is saying maybe a little too strenuous for my arm. So just keep those kind of things in mind, because that does make a difference. You don't want to strain your arm. You don't want to hit a bump where you're going to have to try to gain control of the wheel, which is why speed bumps or even potholes make a difference, because when you hit those potholes, your car's going to kind of veer a little bit or bump or, change, and you have to have a good control over that steering wheel when it hits that bump. So that's why I'm really careful about what streets I'm driving on, traffic, because people will stop, people will go, people will stop and go at the same time. It's like, do you not see my car? I'm wondering, like, what's so important that you have to drive in a lane that doesn't exist, or why are you driving in the wrong lane, or why are you running a red light? So people are a little crazy driving here locally, so I do have to remember that when I do decide to drive, that I'm going to be on the road with them, and I need to make sure that I'm not putting myself or even anyone else at risk. But for the most part, it's not a lot different if you've had the pain in your arm pre-surgery. It's not a lot different. It's not significantly different. I don't have any significant changes, other than it's harder for me to grab the steering wheel in the event that there's an emergency. So if I had rainy roads and I had to turn on my wipers, I can't do that right now with my left hand. I can't turn on the wipers. I can't adjust my lights. Luckily, they're automatic. But if they weren't, I wouldn't have a way of turning them on, because at least while I'm driving. So those are certain things you want to think about. What's on the side of your surgery? For me, it's my lights, it's my blinkers. Actually, I've been able to get my blinkers just by sliding my right hand over and turning my blinkers on. I don't think I'm going to try wipers, but most of that's all controlled, off my steering wheel. So just remember what's on those sides. You can't adjust your seats, because mine's left side, so I can't adjust my seats. I can change, speeds. I wouldn't drive a stick shift, but if I was driving a stick shift, I can use my right hand, so I can still use a lot of that. I can still, go into reverse, into drive, and I can change and shift on my transmission using my right hand. So the only problem is, remember, if you're going in reverse, you're not going to be able to change and steer the steering wheel at the same time, because how much fun that would be. So again, just keep in mind what the doctor says and what they say is reality is really going to be up to you. You know yourself, you know your roads, you know your weather, you know your weather conditions, you know your vehicle, you know the drivers around you, because really that's what it's going to come down to. Are the people around you? What are your roads like? What are the drivers around you like? What is your vehicle? Does it stop really quick? Does it go really quick? Do you have buttons that are far away? So maybe you don't have the control like I have on my steering wheel, where I can adjust the temperature and change the radio. I don't listen to the radio station usually when I drive, but if I needed to, are you able to do that? See, I can do that with mine. So those kind of things do make a difference. I want you to think about that. If you're going to get behind the road, once you're off the painkillers, like I am, for the most part, it's no different than what I was before surgery. My arm has right about the same range of motion that I had before surgery, except this time I can't move it, where before, if I had to, I would. It caused me a lot of pain, or my hand would be numb later, but I could move it in the event there was an emergency. Or if I was having a good day, it would be normal. But I don't have all those anymore that I'm after surgery, so I don't have that emergency backup system, as I like to call it, which was my left hand. Now it's completely, for the most part, in a sling for the next 6 weeks. So I just wanted, if you're wondering how long does it take till you can drive, it's really up to you. And you know your car, you know your traffic, you know your neighbors, you know your roads. Because you hit, like I said, a bump one of those potholes and your vehicle kind of veers a little bit or shifts a little bit. Or I had a couple students last week or a couple weeks ago who ended up going off the road. Even my oldest daughter went off the road because she overcorrected. And she has 2 arms, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation with one. But as long as you're comfortable and the roads are straight and the weathers are great and everything is right, I don't have a problem running to McDonald's half-mile away round trip. Because again, it's not a significant change for me. Before surgery versus now, I am off the painkillers, like I said. I'm not, actually, I think I'm on less painkillers than I was pre-surgery when it comes to ibuprofen. Because I was taking a lot of ibuprofen before surgery because of the pain I was in. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. That's going to make a difference. Again, I have, controls on my car because I have a Dodge. So it does have those kind of controls on my vehicle. I can press buttons on the steering or behind the steering wheel to kind of make some of the adjustments that I need. So if you have those abilities and you're still feeling you're safe, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to drive. Now, I definitely am not taking no long trips. I'm definitely not driving more than maybe a mile or 2, other than when I had to rent a Kaiser the other day. But like to the bank, I try to get a ride when I went to go find t-shirts to try to wear because I really didn't have a lot of sleeveless because I don't want to deal with trying to put a shirt on. I asked for a ride, and luckily I was able to find a ride. But there's times when you're not going to be able to find a ride, and there's times where you may just need to. So just make sure you have everything that's right for you and your community and the people around you, because you know what your abilities are. You know your arm, you know your car, you know your roads, you know your neighbors, you know the people you drive in or your community. And all that's going to make a better factor and decision than what the doctor can tell you on what's right. Because, I mean, he knows when your arm's going to be able to move. But for some of us, we weren't moving our arm before the surgery. So I wasn't moving and driving with my arm a whole lot before the surgery. So to say I have to wait for my left arm to be moving, that's silly because it wasn't moving for the last year and a half while I was fighting to get the surgery done. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind. For me, I haven't been driving for, a year and a half with my left arm. It's been hanging on my side. So trying to say I had to wait until my arm moves, it's like, well, you let me drive the last year and a half without it. How is it any different now? So those are just different things that I had to think about before I decided to get behind the wheel. Again, I just barely started doing it maybe 2-3 days ago, and it wasn't very far. I'm just, for the most part, running to McDonald's at the corner. Straight, it's an L shape. I order online so I can pick up on the curb because I don't want to go through drive-through. It's too hard to kind of steer the wheel around that turn and still try to pick up and pay. It is not fun. And I don't like getting in and out because, again, the seatbelt rubs up against my stitches, and I don't want to deal with that either. So with that said, I wish you the best. Be safe out there. Make the decisions that are best for you because no one knows you better than you. Take care.